What's up, everybody, and welcome to the In Love with Horror podcast. We are your hosts. I'm AJ.
And I'm Kristie. Join us for a love affair with all things horror as we explore the world of horror films, games, and everything in between.
And y'all, on this podcast episode, this is our second in the series of holiday horror films that we're doing. The first one, of course, is Krampus. And on this episode, we'll be focusing on Black Christmas, the one from 1974, the OG version, and kind of the topic of it, so sort of the angle we're taking here to guide the discussion is what makes Black Christmas a must-watch every Christmas. That's what we'll be talking about on this podcast, so stay tuned.
So we have some details to give you guys. First, about Black Christmas. So it was released in 1974 and directed by Bob Clark, who also directed A Christmas Story, which is completely different from this movie.
Yeah.
And I really like A Christmas Story. Like, that's one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite classic Christmas movies.
So yeah, those of the old school sort. Yep.
He also directed Baby Geniuses.
Yeah, and it was weird, because those are movies that, I don't really think about. Like, A Christmas Story is cool, but that's not one of my favorite Christmas movies. I don't really watch it like that. And Baby Geniuses, I kind of forgot about. But I used to like it when I was a kid a lot. But it's crazy that this same dude directed all those movies, because all those films, they're in such vastly different genres and feels and tones. So yeah, when we saw that, I was like, damn, that's like a crazy assortment, crazy filmography. Different. But yeah, that was crazy.
And here's the synopsis. All right. So it says, it's time for Christmas break and the sorority sisters make plans for the holiday, but the strange anonymous phone calls are beginning to put them on edge. When Claire disappears, they contact the police, who don't express much concern. Meanwhile, Jess is planning to get an abortion, but boyfriend Peter is very much against it. The police finally begin to get concerned when the 13-year-old girl is found dead in the park. They set up a wiretap to the sorority house, but will they be in time to prevent a sorority girl attrition problem?
Yep. So that is kind of the overall synopsis of Black Christmas. So the way we're going to talk about this, because the main topic here is why Black Christmas is a must watch every Christmas. In terms of the Christmas horror film genre. And so we got a couple little areas that we're going to focus on. And the first area is the atmosphere of this film, right? So the overall atmosphere of this movie is chilling and eerie with a Christmas backdrop. Most of the film takes place inside the sorority house. The girls are receiving these super weird and obscene phone calls. So every time the phone rings, you don't know if it's going to be Billy or not. So you're automatically always on edge.
Yeah.
Right. Which is cool because, and I don't know if we'll talk about this later, but one of the interesting things about the phone calls is it also is the way that we engage with the killer, and then we also learn about the killer, like his potential background through these phone calls, which is like a really unique storytelling way. Because normally, a lot of times sometimes in slashers you might get like a flashback or some sort of montage or like someone else telling you about the villainous character. But in this film, we have no idea who this person is. And then we can only really discern who he is through these super weird phone calls where it seems like he's reacting like something traumatic that's happened involving him. It sounded like his baby sister, maybe Agnes, and his mom. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So he had a predicament that happened. From when you discern it, it kind of seems like he might have killed his baby sister or something. Because she's like, "Where's the baby?" He's acting all these things out with all these different voices, but it sounds like something weird like that. But the phone, serves as, this creepy element, but also like this storytelling element. So it's kind of dope. Now, also, there aren't super bright colors in this film. Everything's pretty muted and has this dark tone. And we pointed this out while watching it, that even the Christmas tree, those got lights and stuff like that. It's got this weird tinsel stuff that's covering it. So it even looks
Can't
like
really see the lights.
it even looks like a creepy Christmas tree,
That's
like
spider webs or something over it.
Yeah, like, and it's almost symbolic of like, it's supposed to be Christmas time, supposed to be this happy time, and everyone's got these different, things going on in their lives that are like casting the shadow to like prevent them from experiencing the Christmas joy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I think we're gonna get into that later, right? Talking about some of those different dynamics. So we'll touch on some of those later. But everyone's got stuff going on that's preventing them from being able to enjoy the Christmas time. The stark contrast between, the light and the dark, negative and positive. Now, taking into account all that is happening within the film, coupled with the Christmas hymns, it really makes for an unsettling slasher film. And so we get a lot of scenes in this film where you've got like the Christmas carols, running, and then simultaneously it's depicting on screen like an actual, like one of the kills. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's that contrast between, something dark happening while, something light is trying to, protrude through this darkness. You know what I'm saying? And it makes for just like a weird feeling to see like killings and weird stuff happening with, these, Christmas hymns and stuff playing over the audio. Did you want to add anything to that, man? Yep. Now, kind of the next piece to this we wanted to dive into is Black Christmas is like a hodgepodge of Christmas slasher excellence, right? And basically, when you think of like a Christmas slasher, your mind might immediately go to, an evil Santa Claus, like, a Santa that's gone wild on a murder spree or whatever. And Black Christmas takes what makes a good slasher and combines it with a lot of likable elements, such as the drama, the suspense, the realism, and the horror. And now, this is what I was going to touch on earlier, right? Like the drama part. Each character has like something, tragic or like hard or whatever going on in their lives. Let's take Barb, for example. Right in the beginning of the film, we see Barb get a phone call from her mom who is choosing to spend Christmas with, her man instead of her. And Barb kind of like, obviously you could tell she's had like a difficult upbringing. Her mom sounds like she was never really there for her, never like nurtured her, spent time with her or whatever. And so she ends up, taking that out on everybody else. So she bullies people. And then she also like, is drinking all the time, and then also like has this weird obsession with like sexual things, like being real crude. You know what I'm saying? Like she gave old dude at the police station when he asked the phone number, he said fellatio. So she said fellatio as the extension, whatever. So she, due to a lot of her parental issues, she ends up lashing out on people, and then has like just a lot of substance abuse and maybe some other things going on, some real drama. And then everyone else has a lot of drama too. Our main character, what's her name again?
Jess.
Yeah, Jess. Like she's got the ordeal with the baby and choosing whether or not to have that baby, and then putting that on, talking to Peter about it. Peter's going through it because of that, and he also has the pressure of his piano recital coming, so he's trying to get into this program. I guess it's like a college program. I couldn't really tell what kind of program it was.
I don't know, some conservatory or something.
Yeah. So everyone's got like, so there's some real like character drama elements like in this film that a lot of people could probably relate to. Maybe they've dealt with some similar things, or just seeing the hardships that these characters are going through. Like they're very real, very believable. You know what I'm saying? Now, and then we got the kind of the suspense elements of this film. Of course, I mentioned the phone earlier, but then we get that kind of typical slasher suspense of you not knowing who the killer is. So if they start to like paint it that it could be Peter, all the way up until the very end of this film, really, where they basically say that it was Peter, and the actual killer like got away. You know what I'm saying? And
I knew it wasn't Peter.
Oh yeah. We could tell that it wasn't Peter, but the film definitely tries to paint that picture for everyone else that's involved in the actual film. And then of course I talked about earlier like the realism, social aspects, right? So I mentioned the abortion, but also the police not taking the report seriously. So we've seen that before in like real life, where people report things, and maybe the police station gets so many prank calls, whatever, they don't take stuff seriously. And of course there's the like misogynistic aspect of the film too. So this film for its time was very like progressive. You know what I'm saying? It deals with like a lot of like what I'll call like socio-political type of issues. So like abortion, you know, like women's independence, you know what I'm saying? So, Jess mentioned that she wanted to get the abortion because she wanted to be career focused, you know what I'm saying? And, and that's from a time where traditionally, like if the husband was capable, like you would kind of get the family and the woman would stay at home, take care of the family. And it was the man's of the house career that was the focus, not the woman's. So here we have, them trying to be progressive and show like, a woman being able to stand on her own and make some of herself. And then there's also the element of like, sexual expressions, sexual freedoms. When the dad comes and he sees his daughter's room, she got this poster up of like, it almost looked like kind of like a hippie vibe, like sexual freedom, you know what I'm saying? People like, making sexual remarks and comments. There's a lot of like, crude things that are said in the film. So for the time of the film, it's very like progressive, you know what I mean? And then the last piece for, in regards to like the slasher elements I want to talk about is the horror of it, so that being stalked feeling and not knowing, why or even where the killer is, you know what I'm saying? So, you're getting these obscene phone calls, some weird stuff's going on. There's other people that have been killed in this city. We see the element with the mom who's looking for Janice, I believe is the little girl's name. And she has gone missing, and, they have put together that crowd search to figure out, they could search where maybe she may have went, and they do end up finding her, unfortunately. But there's a lot of like real life horror things going on in this town. And one thing that is kind of crazy to think about is, people don't realize it's hard. It's easy to forget, right? Because we're so used to cell phones and things like that like back then, there was no cell phones, right? So like if someone was out, like there was nowhere to reach them. You know what I'm saying? So like even down to like someone saying, you hear a lot of like appointment making essentially in this film, like, oh yeah, she was taking off to go back home at 1 p.m. or I'm gonna go come meet you at 9 p.m. And like when people were gone or they said they're gonna do this at this time, like that's what was expected. You know what I'm saying? So like there's this horror fact just within that of like, not being able to quickly have access to communication to, say what's going on or call an emergency or something like that. So I feel like whenever you watch old films, there's that inherent, like horror of like just not having quick access to call 911 or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. There was also real horror in this movie. It wasn't just like real life horror. I mean, like it's scary to think someone's in your house and you don't know that they're in your house. And then like it was funny because like there was a lot of times when they were like calling for this cat named Claude. Claude was you were hearing noises or whatever in the house, but they're attributing it to the cat. But it was this person that was in their house, and like like that one scene where she comes into the room and she sees those bodies on the bed, and you see like that one eye through the crack of the door. Like that's really scary. Like, and then obviously her being chased, and so yeah, it's still there's real horror, but there's also like legitimate like scary moments,
like scary scenes. Yeah, there's plenty of scary scenes too. Even just the idea, we've seen clips of that in real life now. People not realizing there's someone, squatting in their house in their attic that comes out at night, go eat some food and go back up in the attic. You know what I'm saying? There's
a door, like a thing in our closet. And when we first moved into our house, our 7-year-old was like scared because he sees videos of stuff like that, right? Yeah. He's like, Dad, can you check in there and make sure there's nobody in there?
Yeah. It's a real thing. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's plenty of horror to be had in this, both in the traditional sense and the comparable to real life horror for sure. Now another thing I want to talk about too that makes this a must watch every Christmas, and this kind of speaks to the fact that the film is as good as it is that the film has been remade 2 times.
Yeah,
not once, y'all, but twice. So there's a version that came out in 2006, and there's a version that came out in 2019. Now, I don't think I've seen either one of those, but I think you've seen them. I feel
like you have. You just don't remember.
No, I don't think I have, actually.
I think you have. Anyways, they're both the same. I mean, like the same story, the same premise, right? Like sorority girls being killed off one by one.
Yeah.
I personally like the 2006 one better than 2019. And I remember watching this version, this 1974 version, at some point or another, but I don't remember it until rewatching it the other night. I like this one the best. Like this one has like all the good flavors of a good Christmas slasher movie. So this was like 100%. My favorite out of the three of them. But the 2019 is definitely like not that great to me.
Yeah, I've heard that one's not very good, and I feel like the 2006 one was kind of like an underrated type of one, slightly.
It was good.
Yeah, but of course the original is obviously the best, and it really captures what makes a good slasher film, and it gives that Christmas flavor on top of it being slasher, that we both really enjoy. Now let's talk about some things that we really like about Black Christmas, and one of the big things is the POV style. Now, Black Christmas 1974 is a lot of times considered to be like the grandfather of slasher films. There's a debate on whether it's like the first or not. I've seen debates about Peeping Tom and stuff like that being the first. I think that had some POV style elements to it. But this is still one of the earlier films to have that perspective that you see first person through the killer's eyes. And that POV style is super cool. Like, there's at times where I would love to see some like behind the scenes to see how they pulled some of it off. Like,
I would like to see that,
like
too.
him climbing the thing in the beginning. I was like, how did they film that?
How did they film that?
Yeah, super
good. And then like the one scene where because they carry that all the way through, right? Like there's never a point where, there's the one point when she sees him in the room.
Mm-hmm.
But the shadow is like covering his face. But there's not a point for the killer's perspective like that you see anything other than this POV.
Yep.
So like near the end when he's like in the attic with Claire's body in the chair, and he's like rocking the chair back and forth. Like there's super creative stuff that they did like scenes wise
100% with
this particular style. So I did like that style. And then you hear him breathing,
yeah,
kind of reminiscent of Michael Myers, like the
yep,
So that was super cool.
Yeah, and you could tell watching this a lot of the inspirations. Like you think about the first Halloween, when you have the through the mask perspective, stuff like that. Like you mentioned with the breathing through the mask and the killing. Very much you can see how a lot of slasher films got inspiration from this film.
Yeah. I will say one thing I didn't like though is that you don't really see a lot of like on point killing. Like
you really don't.
They do a whole lot of like creative viewpoints where you don't really see the actual slashing or like you see hands in the air or stuff like that.
There's not a lot of special effects in this film in terms of like kills. You see the aftermath, someone being bloodied or whatever, but you don't actually see the actual gruesomeness. Yeah. And this is kind of outside of the POV style, but just the camera work in general in this film is like excellent. Like there's some really cool camera movements, some different zooms and pans that just kind of help build the suspense. Like one of the while we were watching, there was one scene where like it shows it's a viewpoint from the attic window looking out down, and you see like Claire's dad getting into the cab or whatever, and the camera like kind of I can't remember if it zooms or not, but it does like refocus, and then in the foreground you see Claire like with the bag over her head. And I was like, damn, that's like
so
such
crazy.
It's a creepy ass shot. It's a beautiful shot. And it's also very poetic. Like
it is.
She's sitting there right at the window, like
because they still haven't
found her. Haven't found her yet. Her dad's on there looking for her.
He done fell right out.
There dead.
He's just so stressed.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that one part when he does faint, it's like dang, because. Are they ever gonna find her? It's such a really. We'll talk about the ending in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about the ending.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Because I got some weird questions with that. But another thing we liked, of course, is John Saxon.
Yeah,
like, he was dope in this film.
It's so funny because at first I was like, "Who is this guy?" Like I know I've seen him in something else. So I'm the type of person I can't let it go. Like I can't really focus on the movie until I know who the person is. Right. So I had to look him up. I was like, oh yeah, he was because I was like, he looked like he played a sheriff before or something.
Yeah, he's played plenty of sheriffs on TV and in movies.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, he was the sheriff in Nightmare on Elm Street. And then I was like, oh, he's been in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. He found his pocket.
He definitely has his pocket, and he played it very well. But I really liked him in this movie. Like he wasn't like, there's a one cop in this movie who's like an asshole, and he's really also kind of like dumb.
Yeah. And
so, but together he's an asshole and he's dumb. You know what I'm saying? So, but John Saxon's character, Nash. What was John Saxon's character? name? I don't remember. Well, he's the sheriff.
It's like Kent or Kemp.
Well, the sheriff, like he's like super helpful. He wants to help, and
very smart, logical, sensible.
Right. He makes a sense of things, and even though he does, it makes sense as to why he thought it was Peter. Like I see the signs.
Yeah, it was there.
He's following the breadcrumbs, which makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
But anyways, I really like his character, like as a police officer, because of the message that they were putting with this movie, like the fact that 9 times out of 10 you don't always get investigations right when someone goes missing, right? You have to wait 24 hours or they don't come back. We listen to Crime Junkies podcast all the time, and that's one of the things they talk about all the time, like in these stories about how there's like days that go by before they actually investigate someone who's missing. And so like it was good to see in this movie where he was like following up. He was like, well, let's check this out, like let's figure out how these things go together. So I did like his interpretation of the character as well.
Right. Oh yeah, 100%. I agree with everything you said. I do. He's a very likable detective, and there's a lot of like funny moments too where he cracked jokes and things like that.
Yeah, he was funny.
He's
like, he's like, Nash.
Oh, he had the phone number.
Yeah, that was funny.
That actually felt like a genuine laugh on set.
Really
they were laughing
they were
like for real.
Cackling.
Yeah. So I was like, I wonder what happened in that scene for real, because while filming it, because they were laughing.
Yeah,
for real.
So hard. But yeah, so in that scene, there was like another police officer or detective that was also in the office with the sheriff, and he was about to call the house and realized that the number was down as fellatio. Was like 08 something. I don't know. Yep. And so he's calling Nash in to ask him like, what? What's up with this number? Yeah. And he was like,
it's a new extension.
He was serious too. He's like, and then so he stood there for a minute while they were watching him. And he was like,
laughing at him.
Oh, it's something sexual, isn't it?
Yeah, he said something dirty, huh?
Yeah. Yep. That was so funny.
But no, John Saxon was great in this film. Rest in peace to that legend.
Yes.
Now, another thing we liked was Jess as the final girl. I thought her performance and all that stuff was like really good.
There was one scene I was like, dang, she need an Academy Award for that scene.
Oh yeah,
when she realizes that this
after Nash told her the killer's in the house.
That the killer's in the house, and she hasn't seen Barb, and she hasn't seen the other girl.
I think his name like Phil, like that.
Yes. So she's screaming at the bottom of the list, Phil, Barb,
somebody please answer me.
Yeah. So you could tell she was screaming at with all her might. Like she was really.
She gave it 110% on that part.
She really did.
She gave it her all.
I love that scene of her. But yeah, I thought she was smart. She was a pretty smart final
for the
girl.
most part. Yeah.
Well, where wasn't she smart at?
I guess like her killing Peter. I thought that was weird. I guess in my mind, like, how do you immediately jump to this idea of
he came at her?
I don't think he came at her.
Well,
like that.
She was probably taking it as he was coming at her.
I mean, I guess
he was being really weird. Like he was like, "Hey, Jess." Where are you going away from? Like he was talking to her kind of crazy.
They amped it up to make him look even more weird, but I don't know. Like, it just didn't make a lot of sense.
I'm like, I'll be creeped out as well. Like the way he was talking to her, like he didn't just bust through a window. He was like, Jess.
He's trying to find her.
He was acting really psycho.
I mean, yeah. And then she didn't leave the house. She went back. I mean, I guess she's trying to get her friends out.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
But I mean, it's like, the police are coming. Just wait for them. Like, why are you gonna go upstairs? And more than likely, if they're not answering you, they're probably dead. Yeah, take your ass outside.
She was making sure.
Yeah. And then
I still liked her as a final girl.
Yeah. Now, the last thing that we liked, that we wanted to mention is the ambiguous ending, and where they got Peter died anyway. She killed that dude, but they pinned him for it.
Yes, they assumed it was Peter.
And I guess
it was funny because the sheriff was like, I knew it. It was in my gut. I knew it was him.
I knew it was him. And then someone in the scene where they have the bedroom scene where Jess laying on the bed, they're all kind of talking in there. You hear someone in the background mention something about checking the attic. I guess they never do because the killer's still up there. Claire's body's still up there.
The house mother, Mrs. Mack.
Yeah, Miss Mack's still up there. So like, I thought that was weird. You would normally you do a clean sweep of everything.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that.
Maybe they're gonna come back and do it later. I don't know, but I thought that just didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, there was no closure in this movie. But I will say, like, normally I'm like, weird about that, but I like the way this one ended. Like, it was okay that it was an open-ended ending. But yeah, so they do like how you mentioned earlier with the panning. They pan all the rooms, and then they kind of like pan up to the attic door, and it like creaks open, and then you see that obviously the two eyes are still up there, and obviously he's still up there because he's still talking to himself, and then they pan out of the house, and then you hear the phones ringing again.
Phone ringing. And you still see Claire's body at the window and all that stuff.
I was like, really? He done called them again.
Yeah, it's a very dark ending because based off of this ending, they didn't catch him.
They didn't catch him, and it almost seems like it's possible that he could get away. He can get away with it.
Yeah, very creepy.
Super creepy ending.
Yeah. Now let's talk about like our overall thoughts on some things. So, what's your overall thoughts on like the overall plot and story?
I thought it was great. Now I'm taking into the account that this came before other movies. Yeah. Because if this had been made now, I'd be like, oh, they just regurgitating something all over again. So to take into account that, this was kind of like
it's unique.
It was original. Unique. It was similar to like what was the movie that is inspired When a Stranger Calls or something like that? Isn't it based off some of the similarities
something like
from
the phone call stuff, sure. Yeah.
But anyways, the story, I really like how creative they were with the story. And like I said earlier, I kind of liked the way that it ended. So for those reasons, I would say I would give it like a pretty high rating, like a 4 out of 5, because I thought it was well told, like a good story. Yeah,
I agree. The plot and story were really well done. I liked a lot of the character developments, like the characters dealing with some real issues that seemed very believable, very real. Performances were good. They felt like genuine, just regular people. The dark ending. Sometimes I'm cool with the dark ending, and this one was a very dark one. I was cool with that. I kind of like how it all played out. It played out in a very well-paced way. I like a lot of the. I like the way the story was told, like how you learn information about the killer. It was a very unique way, very original, for at least for then, right? For it to be to be like a grandfather of this, genre almost. To have that story. Have that uniqueness in storytelling where you're getting information from the killer himself over the phone, and you don't really know anything about him beyond the reenactment that he's playing out from whatever extremely traumatized him and made it seem like he snapped or something like that. Yeah. Because I'm going to assume that he must have snapped and then, climbed into.
That's so weird. Well, I feel like they were talking about there were some other reports in the area, right?
Yeah, there was.
So, I just wonder like what those were like. Were they also women? It seems like he has some kind of like traumatic issues revolving around women.
Probably because of his mom and stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But I agree. I'd give this a high rating as well, at least for the story and plot component. It's great. Performances. Well, what do you think about overall all the performances?
Overall, I thought the performances were really, really good.
Yeah.
Also, there were some stronger ones than others. Like the sheriff, Jess. Even Peter with his crazy ass, like
he did good.
When he went ham on that
bitch.
Yeah, he was mad.
He was hot.
He was super mad, and the way he said that, it wasn't like yelling. He was just like turned. It was just like, you selfish bitch. Like he was just like he was hardcore.
Man. He was hot, man.
Yeah, so I really liked him. And then the scene when he's playing, he's fudging the mess out of this piece.
Oh yeah, that was a good scene.
But he was still going.
He was sweating. He was really going. He was trying his best.
He was trying his best.
But his mom was so distracted.
But yeah, I really liked his portrayal too.
Yeah, and then he tore that piano up. I was like, that's a lot of money. You got to pay for that thing.
That's why he leaving the conservatory.
Right. That's why he left. Yeah, he's like, I can't afford to pay them back for that grand piano, y'all. Shit, too expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, performances were great. And we kind of briefly mentioned this, but the overall like kills and action of this film, what do you think?
Overall, these aren't my like favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is funny because this is a slasher.
It's weird, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I really like the story elements a lot better. Mostly because we couldn't see any really of the kills.
Yeah.
But I do have like I think my favorite kill probably is the Mrs. Mack one, because it was like so, I don't know, right? Like it was just really weird, right? Like the way it happened. So she like climbs up to the top of the thing, which was so dumb, right? Because she's looking for the cat.
She just left.
She opens up the attic. She's like, why would you even be up here? I'm like, exactly. So why are you up here?
Yep.
and she sees
Claire.
and then she like slowly turns.
And she heard something.
And then the hook comes and
Boom,
then snatches her up, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that was probably my favorite one.
Yeah. I think my favorite is, the Barb one, just because it had the music playing, kind of slow motion.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
the little icicle thing and just statue, whatever it was. He was just going ham.
Yeah. That part was actually funny. Like prior to that, when she was like, oh, I feel like there's a stranger in my room. And then she was like, it would be nice if I had a stranger in my room. She was like horny the whole time.
She is fast, but like, good God almighty. But that's probably my favorite kill. But like, it's funny though, because you mentioned you don't really see a lot of the kills. The movies, the best parts of the movie are like the drama and the suspense and the creep factor and the performances and the characters. Like the kills, they help continue the plot and the story and stuff. But like oddly enough, it's not like a central part of this. Right. They're creepy, but you don't really see much. So like for this to be a horror slasher, and you don't really see much like that, and they left a lot to the imagination. That it works really good for this film. Now the last piece here we want to talk about overall thoughts on is the scares and horror of it all. Like, how'd you feel about the general scares and horror of this film?
I thought it was pretty scary. Like just the thought of it all, like have someone in your house stalking, killing your friends.
Yep.
And I think, like I said earlier, some of the pieces, like the eye scene and those were like really scary imagery. So I would say like maybe like 3.5 out of 5. Like as far as like a rating regarding horror, like it's not super scary, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's very creative horror elements.
Yeah. No, very creative. I was gonna say that a lot of the horror elements too for me is that unknown factor, but then in the film you see in that perspective where someone's watching them, around the corner, behind the stairs, behind the door.
And they did some really funny like tricky parts, like when she was on the phone calling the police and then you see someone coming down the stairs, you think it's the killer, but it's really Peter.
Yep. I let myself in. It's cold outside.
Yeah.
Like, I had to get in here.
I took a little nap on the bed. I'm like, what?
Yep. And there's something to be said about that, right? He was up there taking a nap, chilling. That the killer didn't do anything.
Mess with him. Yeah,
only women. So it's going back to what you said earlier about him having an issue with women, probably because of his mom, and so he kills women. But he did kill that police officer that was out in the car, though.
Well, he was trying not to get caught.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which I thought was interesting too, because he got out there somehow, killed him, and then got back in.
That's true.
Maybe took a ladder or something.
How did he do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question. Because they didn't show that. We just find out that he's dead when the sheriff was trying to reach him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, everybody called him. Yeah. And that's when the camera panned up. It's like, yep, his throat got cut. But yeah, so the scares and horror is actually really well done. It builds a lot of suspense, a lot of creep factor.
That's what gets you.
Now, overall rating for the movie as a whole, what would you give it?
I think I would give this 4 stars.
Honestly, I was thinking the exact same thing. 4 out of 5. So really well done.
It was enjoyable.
Absolute classic. We've watched it for the last couple of years, like every Christmas. And I need to watch the remakes just to see how bad they are.
I know you have seen the remakes.
Nah, I'm pretty sure I haven't though.
You're gonna sit down and watch it, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, I did watch this."
No, I don't think so. I don't remember I literally don't remember nothing. Like normally, I at least remember like a kill.
Not all the time.
Sometimes I remember like a kill or something specific. Like because usually each film, I might not remember everything, but I remember one specific part about like, okay, I remember this singular part. Is this either the scariest part or the weirdest part or the goriest part? But I literally don't remember a single item. So I feel like I haven't seen it.
Well, maybe not then. I thought you did.
But no, I agree 100%. I think a 4 is justified for this. It's definitely a classic, probably like, my favorite. I think your favorite too, Christmas horror slasher. And this is like a must watch, like every Christmas for everybody. If you've never seen this film, we kind of told you all about it, but it's still worth the watch. You still get enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
Definitely check it out. Black Christmas 1974. Again, directed by Bob Clark. It's on Peacock, I think. Pretty sure, right?
Is that what we watched it on?
Pretty sure it's Peacock. Yeah, pretty sure it's Peacock, y'all. I think it is on there for streaming if you've got Peacock.
It's also on Tubi.
Yeah, a lot of films, especially a lot of older films, are on Tubi as well for free to watch. But y'all let us know what you think about Black Christmas from 1974. Is it a film that you watch every year? How much do you enjoy it? What are your favorite parts? Let us know what you think all about Black Christmas down in the comments below. And again, this is the second episode of our Christmas horror series. Again, the first one we did last week was on Krampus, so check out that one if you haven't seen that one yet. That is a great discussion where we talked about basically the top 3 reasons why Krampus is our favorite Christmas horror film, like overall. And then we did Black Christmas for this one, and then we'll be doing
next week. I think we should do a poll.
Okay.
Because it'll be our last one.
Oh, okay.
So options would be Dead End or Better Watch Out.
Okay. Well, we might do a poll, y'all. You can let us know down in the comments for this video what you want us to cover for the next one. She gave you 2 options. Maybe there's a third one that you want to throw on that list too. Hey, we're open to that too because we can kind of adjust on the fly. So y'all let us know. We also got our 12 Days of Horror Miss going on. So if you haven't seen our list for that, you can go on our social media or on the YouTube community tab, where we got the graphic for that, where we list out films leading up to Christmas Day, Christmas horror films that we really enjoy. We watch those and then, have like, open discussions on our social media and things like that. So go check that out. If you had not seen that graphic yet, again, 12 Days of Horror Miss, super dope. All about Christmas horror, y'all. But hey, look, thank y'all so much for tuning in to this podcast. This has been a great discussion on Black Christmas. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to stay up to date on all things horror, because we do our midweek and end of the week horror news updates. We talk about horror films, just in general, movie reviews, all that stuff. And we're coming up on January, which kind of kicks off the year. We usually get our first horror films in January. Sometimes they're not the best, but you want to be subscribed so you can stay up to date and hear what we think about the new horror films that's coming out, and stay up to date on the horror films that are being made as we drop horror news for y'all. But also like, comment, and share, y'all. Review the podcast on Spotify and Apple. That just helps us boost visibility. And as always, we appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all support. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.